Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. I showed up to a meeting the other day and ran into a friend that I hadn't seen in a while. We were meeting as a committee, and as that friend walked in, I gave him kind of the handshake hug, like the man hug kind of thing. And as I drew him in, a gust of air came up through my shirt and out the top of my collar, and I realized in that moment that I had forgotten to put on deodorant for the day. And my brain just spun in all these different ways. I'm thinking, okay, could anybody else smell me? We sat down and started talking about what we were supposed to talk about in this committee as we were planning an event. And I'm checking out regularly. What did I forget? How did I forget? What happened? And I remembered, something happened. Like either the dog barked in the middle of what I was doing and I had to stop and go grab him. Like something happened that changed my routine. And I realized in those, as I was thinking this through, as everybody around me is talking and planning, that my routine got shaken up. And there's times I think that routine is really useful. Things like deodorant and toothpaste and all that sort of stuff, the things that we can go on autopilot, it saves us brain time, brain space, and energy. But when it comes to faith, routine can actually be the demise. Routine can take us down paths that just don't seem to measure up and start to make us think differently about our faith. I had the opportunity to sit down with a guy named Claire DeGraff, who's a very, very influential guy in my community. He's regularly mentoring and meeting with people. And he wrote a book called The 10-Second Rule. And he shares his story of his faith in that 10-second rule. And he talks about his faith as if it was routine. He uses the word beige quite a bit. It was just boring. And he said, I just was in this routine, and because of the routine, I started to believe that my faith didn't matter much. It didn't matter what I did here, as long as I had the checkbox in the saved, the heaven box marked, right? Like, it didn't matter. He said, I thought that it didn't matter if I had bleacher seats in heaven or box seats in heaven. Once I had that box marked, it didn't matter. And it was all routine. But he said he was feeling that, like it wasn't right. And yet, we like routine. We like to know that we have deodorant on, and we like to know that we brushed our teeth, right? And so he says that at one point in his faith journey, he is diagnosed with cancer pretty early in his life. And that shook him out of the routine. Just like my man hug reminded me that I forgot a piece of my routine, Claire had this experience in his faith that shook him. It was like a defib to his faith life. And it just shook him out of that routine. And he said from that moment, he went back to the Bible and said, like, this can't be all that it is. Like, I've got that box checked, but I know that that's not all that I'm here for. And he said, I wanted my faith to matter. And I personally have had so many conversations with friends that are asking questions about meaning in life and whether their life matters. I actually adjunct taught a leadership course for a local university, and their slogan is build a life that matters. And I love that slogan, that life motto, because our lives here do matter. It's clear that Jesus came here because our lives here matter. And Claire admits that as he was starting to read the Bible and try to figure out what does it look like, what does he have to do, what routine things does he need to change in order for his life to have more meaning, in order for it to matter, he said he was still trying to figure out everything he read on this side. He was trying to figure out a way out over here. Like, okay, so I need to do this, I need to do that, but I don't know that I want to do that. Is there a plan B? And he said he came to the conclusion that there isn't. There isn't a plan B, but that's why he came up with this idea called the 10-second rule. He said that I don't necessarily have to be perfect all the time at this, but if I more regularly engage my faith, and I do so, the 10-second rule is, Claire says this, he says that you don't need to get it all right. You don't need to be 100% perfect, but he says just do the next thing that you're reasonably certain Jesus is asking you to do, and do it within 10 seconds. Right? When we drop a piece of food on the ground and we're like, 10-second rule, if we pick it up, we believe we pick it up fast enough, that no germs got on it, right? Or it's still okay. If we have one of those promptings, one of those urges, one of those things that I should probably do this, or I should probably not do that, respond within 10 seconds. And he said, as I started doing that in my life, it became more routine to do that, but my faith never got to that beige routine. I was regularly engaging. with what God wanted me to do. See, Proverbs 21:21 says that whoever goes hunting for what is right and kind finds life itself, finds glorious life. So the challenge this week and throughout this series on the 10-second rule is I'm challenging us. Our Faith in 5 really seeks to help us engage our faith more regularly on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And so with the 10-second rule, if we can go out and in our daily lives start realizing the places that we're reasonably certain Jesus wants us to do or not do, and we can act more often, we're intentional about that, we will find, like Proverbs 21:21 says, we will find life itself. We will realize that our faith matters. So this week, go out, pay attention to the places that you think Jesus might be showing up, and do something about it. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to follow us each week, click here to subscribe. And if you want to take it a little bit further, click here for discussion materials.